and welcome to BrainSpring's webinar, The Benefits of Summer Reading Program. I'm Stephanie Smith, your host, and I'm here with Esther Moreau, who will be monitoring the chat, so please feel free to ask questions and chime in at any time. And again, welcome to our webinar. For all of you that are here live, you must really be wishing for summer because it's a cold January day in most of the country right now. So if you could share with us where you heard about this webinar, we'd appreciate it. Did you hear about it through our newsletter, through social media, word of mouth? We'd love to hear how you found out about it. So today, as you know, we'll be talking about the benefits of a summer reading program. We're also going to talk about where to find a summer reading program and what parents can do to either, if you don't have one in your area, or if you want to enhance the one that you're doing with your child. So there are a lot of benefits. One big one is just having some kind of a schedule over the summer. I know if you're like me, I always look forward to the beginning of the school year, but I also look forward to the end of the school year when we can have kind of a relaxing summer. So it doesn't have to be a strict schedule, but just still having routine times for meals, for bedtime, and of course for some academics as well. So making sure that we're adding in learning as well, including reading. This I thought was really interesting. The National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI, said that reading can reduce stress by as much as 68%. That's a lot. Makes me want to join a summer reading program right now. But it actually lowers your heart rate. It eases muscle tension. It's a healthy escape and makes us more compassionate to others. Summer reading also is one way we can exercise our brain over the summer. When it's hot outside, our bodies are trying to compensate for that. And it can affect how we function cognitively, Dehydration and sleep can also affect that. So engaging in brain stimulating activities can keep our minds sharp and help build resilience. We've all heard of summer slide, okay? And summer slide, also known as summer slump, there is truly a regression of ability levels over the summer if we don't do anything. So we definitely want to stay active. We want to keep our brain engaged and active as well over the summer. Not only can we lose skills over the summer, but it's also a time that we can gain skills too. Students can gain reading levels, or at least at the very least maintain their current reading levels. It also, the more they practice, promotes independence and helps them to develop skills. Reading is actually the fastest rate to build vocabulary, and we know that vocabulary is very tied to comprehension. If we're not understanding the words that we're reading, then we're probably not understanding the overall text itself. So students in upper grade have to learn literally thousands of new words a year, but we can't learn all of that through straight instruction. We have to learn that through mostly incidental reading. So we also remember that in text, there's a whole set of vocabulary that we don't use every day in our conversations. Like we might read in a book about how the two people conversed. And if we were talking, we would say the two people talked instead of conversing. So there is a higher level vocabulary that is often in books. So a great way to help as you're reading over the summer. One misconception is that the children always have to do the reading themselves, but it's really beneficial, especially vocabulary, if parents also read to their children and to stop occasionally and ask, do you know what that meant? What do you think that means? Reading also just increases our knowledge base. Whatever we're reading about, we're learning more of, whether you're reading nonfiction to learn something new, but even if you're reading, the last book I read took place during World War II, and I learned all kinds of little facts along the way with the story. We are always looking for, we have to admit it, we're always looking for something else for our children to do over the summer. So if anything, it's just another activity that we can recommend that they do. The summer reading programs also stimulate interest in the library itself. I tend to read a lot of books online through the library, and recently I started going there more, and I was really surprised at all of the different things they had that you could check out besides books. They had games, yard games, and like board games, cooking equipment. They had lawn chair. The library I live near has a park next to it, so they actually let you borrow lawn chairs at our library. Things like puppets and all kinds of things. And a summer reading program is an inclusive activity. Anyone can participate. Sometimes they are just for children, but I've seen some for adults as well. Recently, I have a 3-year-old granddaughter who can't read, but they really encouraged her to sign up for the summer reading program because parents can read to children for the same amount of hours. So it doesn't matter what age you are or whether you can read or not. They're a great program. And they also, I have to admit, those prizes that the reading programs often has do motivate children to read for fun. So that can be an enticing feature as well. And in general, it just encourages good reading habits. Okay, having the schedule. Again, I would recommend if the parents are allowed to join the reading program over the summer that they do that as well. All right, so I have a question for you. How many of you in the chat did join a summer reading program as a child? Esther, did you join? Do you ever do a summer reading program?
Gosh, I'm so old. I don't even know if I remember ever doing one, but I think I did when I was in elementary school. For sure. Yeah,
I remember the prizes and coloring in the little stars or whatever they had. So yeah, I did. How about our audience? Do we have a few people?
Let's see, they're coming in. I don't see anybody. Oh, well, now we're having about half the people are saying yes, they did join a summer reading. So it's I would say about half and half.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, it's not too late, as I just said. All right. Well, when we think of a summer reading program, we typically think about the library. And I actually found out from the American Library Association that about 95% of libraries do offer a summer reading program. So it's probably the easiest, quickest way to find a program. But there are other places. If you don't live, close to your library, again, they are doing more online as well. So keep that in mind. But there are other ways you can join a reading program. Certain websites such as Reading is Fundamental, Scholastic Books, Half Price Books, Reading Rockets. I'll give you a little plug for Reading Rockets. It's just an excellent place to get really good information on reading, statistics and the science of reading, and they do have a summer reading program as well.
Stephanie?
Yes?
Joseph just said that Pizza Hut used to give prizes for reading books or pizzas. I don't know if they still do that, but hey.
They do.
Yeah, there you go.
And Joe, you're getting a little ahead of me, but it's perfect. Another place to find summer reading programs is through local businesses. Pizza Hut is probably, their Book It is probably the most common, most familiar place company. Showcase Cinema, I know we have some here. I don't know if you have any in your area, but they have a summer reading program. Barnes and Nobles. You'd be surprised. Check your grocery stores. There's a lot of places that surprise you. They have a reading program. Another one is your local sports teams. I know the Detroit Lions have Score with Reading. Yay, go Lions. Detroit Pistons and Tigers also have sponsored reading programs. See, you can't tell we're from Detroit. But the Washington Nationals also have a program. The Dallas Stars hockey team, they have Stick It with Reading program. So you never know. Again, check your local sports teams to see if they offer a program. So, next up, we're going to be talking about what parents can do. And before we segue to that, what was your favorite book as a child? If you could add that to the chat. I can tell you right now, one of my favorites that I read was The Boxcar Children. I loved that book. And because of that, I probably read it to most of my students and my children, and can't wait to read it to my granddaughter. So, if anything pops up, Esther, let me know. I will go on to a few things that parents can do. If you don't have a library near you, or, last year when I was approached to join the summer reading program for my granddaughter, again, I said she was a non-reader. We were already reading before bed every night, so I didn't fill out the little forms. But as a motivation, sticker charts and prizes, that's the best thing. You know what prizes will work best for your child. You can get your own sticker chart. You can decide how many minutes of reading they have to do to earn a sticker on their chart and what the prize will be at the end. So that's kind of again, you can customize it to your child doing it that way. Another way is to kind of sneak in reading, following a recipe. You can ask them questions. What did that say again? What do we need in this recipe? How long do we bake it? Instruction manuals. I remember years ago reading, I think it was Newsweek, article on dyslexia, and a young girl learned to read because she really wanted to learn how to be better at her favorite video game. So she read through the manual, and that's how she taught herself to read. So things that they're interested in, brochures, all those little things that we don't think are necessarily reading, is still engaging them, and they're practicing their reading skills. We're talking about summer reading programs, but there are some things throughout the year that you can also participate in, like March is Reading Month, October is National Dyslexia Month. In the summertime, though, it's a great time to go to, as we said, to kind of customize their interests. Excuse me. For example, if they're going to a sports camp over the summer, you could borrow a book from the library about techniques. If they are interested they like to go to the Renaissance Festival, they can buy the brochure and read through all of that. Different brochures and events and things like that. It's still reading, and they're getting engaged in something they're interested in. They may even want to go on and learn more about it. Other things you can do to get them reading is play games. I always joke that I learned the parts of speech grammar through Mad Libs, and I know there's probably a lot of you out there that did the same. But there's other kind of games that are fun. Perquacky's kind of like Boggle, Bananagram, Scrabble, Wordwit. All of those games you can engage your child, and they can practice their reading skills. One of my favorites is Book and a Movie. So years ago, my daughter, I told her she could go to the library and pick out any book she wanted to read. And she picked the book The Maze Runner, which then they turned into a movie. And so we were able to me, it was a great bonding moment because we read the book together. Then she was in high school begging me to see a movie with her, so that was pretty exciting. And after that, she actually went on to read the 2 sequels, and a prequel came out. So out of the one book that we read together, it turned into a movie and 3 other additional books. So that's a very fun thing to do, too. You can decide if you want to see the movie first, then read the book, or read the book, then the movie. I know if I see the movie after I read the book, I never think the movie is very good. But I know some people are the opposite of that. So you guys can decide. All right, another thing to do is, as I said, read to your child, especially if your child is behind in reading. Reading grade level material to them still allows them to get vocabulary and content area information that they need. And it is a real bonding experience. As I just mentioned, when my daughter and I read the Runner together, very often, she was in 7th grade when we did that. She would say, "Mom, I'm too tired. You read." And I would, because I knew, again, the benefits that she would get out of me reading, even what's that vocabulary and that interest. So don't be afraid to, we know that they need to read, but it is okay to read to them as well. All right, so a couple other things you can do to really kind of get them ahead over the summer, and things that they may not have as much time to do during the school year. One is teaching them how to find the right book. So now that you've joined a reading program, you have to find a book. And what do most kids do? They look at the front cover, they read the title, and that's how they pick their book. So when I'm first doing this activity, actually I do this a lot with my students, I pick 3 books that are about the student's reading level, based on kind of their interests. And I just lay them on the table and I ask the students which one, and you can do this with your child, which one would you like to read? And they're going to look at the picture, read the title, and they usually pick a book. Then we go through the steps to preview the books. Okay, so yes, you still read the title and the front picture, but also, who is the author? Have you read any other books by any of those authors before, and did you like those books? Read the summary, either on the back or the inside of the book jacket. The table of contents, or the title of each chapter, just to kind of get familiar with it, flip through it. Look through the book for pictures and captions if there are any. Then, if there is a recommended reading level and you know your child's reading level, that can be very helpful. If you don't have a recommended reading level for your child, open up the book to pretty much any full page. If your child struggles to read more than 5 words on that page, most likely that book is probably too challenging. Also, how many pages are in the book? That doesn't seem like it would matter much if it's something they're interested in, but as the school year goes on, they might have to do a book report, or usually the books have to be returned after 2 or 3 weeks if they borrow them. So how many pages will they have to read a night? I had a student once who we went through previewing. He picked a book he really wanted to read, and it was a really long book, okay? And he would have had to have read like 38 pages a night, okay? His second choice was 8 pages a night. He was like, I'll read that one. So that can be helpful too. And then after you've kind of spent a little more time looking at it, do you feel the book is a good fit? Is it something you're interested in? Or like I said, if they're doing a book report, do they think it would be a good fit? So just teaching them how to choose a book with a little more thought is helpful. Another thing that I just have to add into is I can't tell you how important we're finding that handwriting is with learning to read. So the more they practice forming letters, the better reader, believe it or not. It helps with both reading and writing. And that's something that takes time. And I find that teachers are always stressed when I'm talking to teachers. They're always stressed they don't have enough time. They have more things that they need to do to work on handwriting. And it's so important. So if that's something that your child can practice over the summer, and I mean that at any age, truly, because written language, text is a form of communication, and reading is our input, but writing is our output. And it's important that our children can get their thoughts across as well. So I had to put a little plug for that as well. All right, so today we went over the many benefits of joining a summer reading program, where different places you can find a reading program, and a few things that parents can do. If you would like to take our quiz, you will get a certificate of attendance that could be used for PD for various sources. So go ahead and you can get your cameras out, click the QR code. I believe we're putting it in the chat as well. Is that correct? Yeah. And also, let us know if you have any questions in the chat. I'll leave this up for a few more minutes. So if you guys have any questions, do we have any questions, Esther? Probably not. Pretty self-explanatory information.
We don't have a lot of questions, but we had some great books that
Oh,
people were
yeah, I'd
reading.
like to hear.
So we have Marilyn shared Charlotte's Web, of course. The Hardy Boys from Joe. Janice said the Bobbsey Twins.
Oh, gosh.
And Brendan, he liked the Gruesome Ghouls of Grand Rapids. So there you go. We also have Gabrielle and Selena, another book. And when I was young, I remember loving A Tree Grows in Brooklyn.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have not read that.
Oh, that's
I'll
a
have
good
to
one.
check that one out.
So we have a lot of great memories of books that people read when they were young. So
And I have to say, that's the best part about summer reading. They get to pick what they want to read. So they're usually, it makes them more engaged in the whole process when they get to pick something that they want to read. So we thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that summer comes really quick and we can get to those summer reading programs. And again, thank you very much for joining Esther and I today.